I love that song. Yeah. It's Here I Am, Lord, this recognition in the form of a hymn that we all have a responsibility to ask, how can I help? What's mine to do? What is it that calls me to bring my unique gift to life? What is that? So today, what a perfect day to talk about that topic, this idea of bringing forth this energy of the mother, the divine feminine, this energy that knows how to ask that question, how can I help? We've all got that energy within us, every single one of us, regardless of the form of our body. We've all got this divine energy that knows that it has a responsibility to tend to the needs of one another. This idea that we all can facilitate the becoming of each other. So today we're honoring our mothers. We're honoring mothers that are present in this world and mothers that are no longer walking in the world. We're honoring birth mothers. We're honoring adopted mothers. We're honoring foster mothers. We're honoring mothers who have mentored us in our path, in our life journey. Those mothers who have shown the mothering energy that has shown up as teachers and nurses and all kinds of family members, aunties and grandmas and great-grandmas. See an auntie over there. So this is the energy that we're talking about today. I love the terminology that one of our authors uses, Mothers of Invention. Mothers of Invention. That would include people like David, who stepped in to be a mother to a child when the mother was taken very early from life and had to raise a son on his own. Mothers of Invention, these people that show up in our lives that sort of help guide us along the way, nurture us, challenge us to be the very best that we possibly can be. And what I know, Mother's Day is a very dicey day, because I know a lot of your stories, and I know some of you haven't had the Donna Reed experience with Mom. Is that the truth? Yeah, I know that's the truth. But I can tell you for certain, every single one of us has a reason to be grateful and has a reason to celebrate today. Because it's an absolute fact, every single one of us has been given the precious gift of human birth. And for that alone, we can express gratitude to our birth mother. That is an important aspect. So maybe we didn't have the Donna Reed experience. Maybe June Cleaver was in the background in our own family system. Remember Donna Reed? And as a mature woman now, I can't figure out how Donna did that. Spinning around in the kitchen with high heels, perfect little, slip, in a shirt-waist dress with a circle skirt, never a spot on her, saying, yes, dear, no problems. Somehow I'm not real sure that was real. Not real sure. And as I look at that model, I came to an awareness this week as I was listening to public radio. This might surprise you. It surprised me. Do you know that for the past several years, statistically, more than 40% of the babies that are born in America are born into single-parent families? 40%. I see a knowing nod from one who works with those children on a regular basis. 40% of the children in our world today, in our country, are born into a family that just doesn't look a whole lot like Beaver Clever's family. And that alone is something that we need to pay attention to. But no matter how it comes about, all of us are probably reminded that we grew up in some sort of family structure, yes? Whether it was a family of birth, an adopted family, a family that included extended members, it could be a foster home. All of us grew up in an environment that would constitute family. And I think these days, there is a new terminology that I'm aware of called funny families. Funny families. these blended families and these families with 2 dads and 2 moms and 2 all of these things, these funny families that are nurturing, guiding, holding the energy for the next generation of children. And so what I know about that is Thomas More has a wonderful book called Care of the Soul. And he says whatever that family looks like, there's no better place to experience growth of the soul. This is where we are, nurtured. This is where we blossom. This is where we sometimes experience some trauma, or whatever goes on. The family is the nest where the soul gets its beginning, whatever that family system looks like. And so we have to reflect on what that looked like for us. What happened in our experience of family, the crucible of the family setting. And part of our work is mature, responsible adults and growing children on the path. The spiritual journey is to look deeply at all of it, recognize the joys, the 10,000 joys of all of it, and be able to embrace and allow the 10,000 sorrows that we may be aware of in our experience. All of it has moved us in the direction of our soul's journey, and all of it has brought us to where we are right now. To be able to accept our life experience, even if it didn't meet the ideal, even if it didn't meet our expectations. And I know for many of us, that is the truth. That's the truth. And part of this is the recognition of how you got where you are today. The fabulous, radiant, incredible, awesome being that you are today. Something along the way helped you get where you are today. Nurtured you, challenged you, brought you where you are today. All of the influences that you're aware of. I was thinking back to the models that we see on TV. Remember the Brady Bunch? Mm-hmm. The funny family, the blended family. Never could quite figure out what happened to the boy's mother or the girl's dad, that all these kids came together. But what is remarkable to me is this. Well, number one, has anybody in this room ever tried to blend a family? I know you have. It doesn't always look like the Brady Bunch. It doesn't always look like the Brady Bunch. But what I can tell you is that whoever created that particular model for television was very brilliant, because they got it, that mom and dad and those 6 kids needed help. And they had Alice. They had Alice, remember?
Yes. Yeah.
So Alice, it takes a village to raise that many kids. It takes all of us in our experiences. We've got to expand beyond, mom and dad. We've got to expand beyond what our mind tells us is that little tiny nest. So Alice, of course, steps in, and she's part of the group. She brings forth her energy. Brilliant, brilliant. The recognition that we need help, and we need to be the help along the way. I was doing my work to research my talk topic today, and I came across an incredible idea that the Blackfoot tribe has a terminology. Of course, I can't speak their language, but in essence, translated, when they meet each other, they don't say, "How are you?" What they say is, "How are your connections? How connected are you? How's your village? How's your village doing?" Not how are you. How's everything going for you with all of that you're part of? This recognition of our interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh calls it interbeing. We're all part of each other. We're all part of one big giant sacred web of life. We're all unique. We're all awesome. We all have unique, beautiful gifts to bring, but we're all part of that net. And when one strand of that net vibrates, guess what? We all feel it. That's the truth. So when we can expand beyond this narrow concept of what it needs to look like, so maybe you didn't have the perfect idyllic setting with mom, whatever that was all about. What I can tell you is, and I always try to remind people that we work with, Mom was doing the best she could with what she had to work with. That's a fact. That's a fact. If she could have done it different, she would have done it different. That's a fact. So we're here in this experience to recognize where we are with all of this and realize that we need to look deeply at our own experience and the experience of others to see where we can be that connection, that part of the village that reaches out. And I love this idea. One of our authors tells us, you know, people don't wear signs announcing what they need. Have you noticed? People don't, especially little children. They're not wearing signs that say what they need. We have to be aware, awake, fully present in the now moment, connected, recognizing our responsibility to be that for each other in a situation so that we can read what's going on. We gotta get involved. We gotta get immersed. We gotta make it a priority to facilitate each other in blossoming forth. So, there's no better example of motherhood, and it takes a village, than the stories of people in this community. So without names except for Mom, I'm sharing Mom's name, I'm going to be sharing some of the stories, snippets of things that I know about some of you in this room that demonstrate how it takes a village, shows up on this Mother's Day. So Mom is going to be 88 this year. You don't care if I tell people that? Of course not. If Mr. Pendleton, if Mr. Pendleton were here today, he would tell you, you're coming right along. You're coming right along, and he's in his 90s. So I want to tell you Mom's story because my mother's radiant and awesome, and I noticed this morning that one of her adopted daughters brought her a Mother's Day gift wrapped, and it's under her chair, and that comes later. My mother was the oldest of 4 children, and when she was 7 years old in the Depression, her father took off, left a very unskillful, frightened mother with 4 children that she couldn't take care of. And so those 4 children, which included my mother, the oldest, ended up living much of their young childhood in an orphanage. So Mom was raised in an orphanage. Yesterday when we were having breakfast at Benji's, as we do every Saturday, Mom was sharing with me some of her perceptions, is looking deeply at the nest, you see. And she was remembering the matron who gave her a great love for home economic type things, so that when she went off to college, she wanted to be a dietitian. And she traces that all the way back to the influence of the matron at the orphanage, right? She remembers the campfire girl leader who gave her a deep love of bird watching, which is a passion today for her. This gift, this nurturing, this challenge. She remembered her Aunt Margaret and her Uncle Homer, who gave out when she was a young teenager, I don't know, 12, 13, somewhere in that range. She finally got to come out of the orphanage, and by the way, so did all the other kids, because now she was old enough to be a caretaker. So she comes out of the orphanage, and her uncle and aunt give her an opportunity to learn a very strong work ethic, to learn what it's all about, to have this deep desire to go to college and to actually go to college, right? And then she entered into marriage, and her mother-in-law became the one that was the model for what mothers do, how mothers are. The one that taught her to cook and can and sew and make 3 little girls' dresses out of hand-me-down coats from grandma, right? Taught her all those things. How to make soap out of bacon grease. Yeah. And then she became an influence for her own daughters, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. And today, even today, she works every day, 5 days a week, a full day, 40-hour work week, in the office with my husband. Every day at 3 o'clock, Janie, her youngest great-grandchild, troops in to her office, and they sit and chat. And she's an influence in Janie's life. And she shares her love of nature, and her hummingbird nest, and her bugs, and her this and her that, and they talk. And I know that for many of you who have lost your mothers in this setting, she is your mother, surrogate mother, in this setting. Is that the truth? She checks up on you. She makes sure you're okay. Yes. This is what it takes a village looks like. Honoring all of it. There could be some bitterness about being raised in an orphanage. And by the way, one of the great gifts for her daughters, because of her own experience, we always had a warm coat, because she didn't, and we always had beautiful shoes, by the way. These are pretty cool shoes. We always had beautiful shoes because she didn't. The beautiful shoes went to the children with the tiny little feet, and by the time they got to the big kids, they were icky. So she made sure, and by the way, she wears pretty cute shoes too. So then I know that there's a story of one of you in this room, a man, who was born into a family of many, many children, lived in a rural area on a farm. And when it came time to go to high school, it was a real struggle. And so guess what? Grandma moved into town with this young man so that he could complete high school. And guess what? He graduated valedictorian of his class. Grandma made that sacrifice and that service to this young man, who then went on to create his own family, went on to get a scholarship to a very prestigious college, went on to be very accomplished in the military, and a leader of men, and a hero. Grandma was very instrumental in that. There's another person in this room who is a grandma, and who, through very unusual circumstances, was called to literally rescue a tiny baby boy from under a tree in a park. And take that little boy, because his parents were just unskillful. I'm sure they were doing the best that they could, but they were unskillful. And this grandma took this child and raised this child into his elementary school years as her own little boy, gave him all the opportunities as if he were a son, not a grandson. This person is among us. There are compassionate people in this room who have been mothers and grandmothers on their own, and then take on very difficult work, working with children who are in an orphanage, who are in protective custody, and steps forward to nurture and comfort toddlers and babies and children that are born drug addicted, children that have been abused and abandoned, and simply love them and comfort them. This takes a village. This person is among us. There's a person among us who is a nurse in a neonatal unit, and her work is to usher in the newborns. And her very difficult task is to be the one that holds the baby that is not going to survive until it takes its last breath, so that it gets the comfort and the warmth of the body. This takes a village. She's the one. There's one among us who took on a very difficult task, didn't have children of her own, but took on the difficult task of working in a cancer unit with children, to comfort those children, to be with their parents, to see them through these difficult times, to be that nurturing, comforting, teaching, loving energy for these children. There are adoptive mothers among us, those who have taken children into their hearts, into their homes, and given them safe haven, given them a life. There are teachers in this room who have been mothers and then taken on the task of teaching and guiding and moving forward entire classrooms of children so that they are prepared. They get the value system. They get the mentoring and the guidance that they need so that they can become the next generation, the future generation. There are fathers in this room who have taken on the difficult role of mothering those heroes that have taken on that task. So right here in this community, our work is to facilitate one another's becoming. We are all heroes in that way. We are all heroes in the way we are friends with one another, in the way we come together to love, to support, to comfort, to be present with each other. These are just some striking examples of looking deeply at the way things have been for us, to recognize that we all have a responsibility with one another. How can I help? What's mine to do? How am I going to bring my unique gift to life. Looking over at Yoshi and Itsuko reminds me, Yoshi and Itsuko don't have children of their own, but they have spent a lifetime serving the needs of children by taking art and their Tai Chi into classrooms to enrich the lives of other children. It's a great gift, called to do what is yours to do, however we do it. Bring forth wisdom, love, compassion, awareness, so that we can bring out the best in others. That grandmother brought out the very best in that hero. That one who nurtures and comforts those drug-addicted babies and those children that have been abandoned and abused. Help bring out the very best possible outcome for these children. The grandmother, all of it. The very best outcome for these children and for one another. We're here to bring that out in each other. We don't limit it to childhood. Do you hear that? We bring it out every day in every way, in our connections with each other. Barbara Marx Hubbard says that our work is to hold up a mirror so that other people can see who they really are. That's our work. Here I am, Lord. I'm the one. I'm the one that can bring forth my unique gift, my talent, my creativity, the essence of who I am, so that I can allow you to be holy, so that I can allow myself to be holy, and so that we can all go there together as a village.